Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another edition of Tuesday Transformation Tidbits with Patrice. I want to say Happy New Year's to each and every one of you, and welcome to our 2025 edition of Tuesday Transforming Tidbits with Patrice. I'm sorry, I got tongue-tied a little bit this morning, but I'm glad to see you here. In 2025, we're going to be dealing with the unstoppable momentum with acceleration and an expansion. We're going to be dealing with how the year of manifestation, and our focus is on the ideal of really gaining and maintaining forward momentum. We want forward momentum in our life. We want forward momentum in our faith. And we want forward momentum in our purpose in life. The whole objective for us in 2025 is when God's glory is going to collide with our preparation and with our obedience. We're going to experience what the unstoppable momentum is, but there has to be a collision with God that needs to go on. How many of us are looking for a collision with God in 2025? We want this year to be a year of manifestation, a year of revealing to us, a year that we're going to see things that we've never ever seen before. So let's get started in what we're going to be dealing with in 2025. In this year, I want us to imagine that we have received everything that we anticipated. Not only did we receive it this year, but we received it in a speedy way. We received it in a more faster way than what we have ever expected. But I need you to understand that when we imagine receiving what we wanted, what we anticipated in a greater force, in a greater fastness in this year, we also have to make sure that we're willing to expand in ways that we've never imagined. You're not going to get what you anticipated this year more faster if you do not anticipate an expansion in you. You got to be ready to expand in 2025. I need you to understand that in 2024, it was a year of preparation, but in 2025, it's going to be the year of manifestation. God is going to unveil the things that you had thought about, that you had prayed about for, that He prepared you for in 2024. I heard somebody by the name of Tony Robbins, who is an author. He's a coach and he's a speaker that deals with unawakening power potential. He says momentum breeds momentum. He said the more you succeed, the more you're going to want to succeed, and the more you're going to find ways to succeed. 2025 is the year that we're going to exceed. We're not going to stop for anything in 2025, but we're going to keep our progression going forward. There's some words that we're going to be using out the year of 2025. These words I've posted all around my house because I needed to be mindful. I needed to speak words of positivity in 2025. So the first word that I'm using in 2025 is unstoppable. When we look at unstoppable, it's unable to be stopped or prevented from development. Now, I can't let anything in 2025 stop me. I've got to push everything aside like we talked about in 2024 in our year of preparation. I've got to push everything aside because I've got to go for full force in 2025. So my first word that I'm using in 2025 is unstoppable. My next word that I'm going to be using, and I want you to use right along with me, is acceleration. When we think of acceleration, we're thinking of a quickening of personal breakthrough. We're thinking about clarity about our purpose, clarity about goals. We're thinking about something that's coming faster than what we've ever anticipated, faster than what it did before. When we think about acceleration, it's coming faster than when it started. In this year of 2025, what we're going to receive in 2025 is going to come fast. It's going to come faster than what we started at. Anything that we have done before this year in acceleration, when you put your foot down on the gas and the gas begin to accelerate, you begin to go quicker. This is a year of manifestation that's going to come quick. The next word in 2025 that we want to use is expansion. When we think about expansion, we're thinking about growth in skills. We're thinking about growth in our emotional capacity. We're thinking about resilience to embrace larger responsibility, to embrace larger challenges. When we think about expansion, we're thinking about sustainability. How am I going to sustain the things that God is going to do? We often talk about we want God to enlarge our territory. Expansion has to deal with enlargement. When God enlarges your territory, you got to have a sense of sustainability. You've got to be able to maintain and sustain what it is that God's going to give you in 2025. Another word that I'm using in 2025 that I need you to use right along with me is partnership. It is an agreement when parties agree to cooperate to advance their mutual interests. When you have a partnership with someone, you have a mutual interest with that someone. But partnership also involves active involvement. In 2025, you got to be having active involvement with God, partnership and purpose, partnership with God to fulfill the purpose that God has for you. We've already been prepped and prepared in 2024. Now we've got to partner with God in order to excel in the things that God wants us to do. We've got to have acceleration in things that's going to come about in 2025. Then momentum is another word in 2025 that's going to be part of our vocabulary. These are words that we're going to be pulling out of our vocabulary, pulling out of our box or our bag of words for 2025. And when we talk about momentum, we're talking about the force that keeps an object moving. We're talking about the quality that keeps an event developing or making progress after it has started. Momentum means that I'm making progress. I'm going up. I'm keeping the force going. Another word that we're going to pull out in 2025 is going to be manifestation. Manifestation is something to come. It's an appearance. It's an enlightenment. It's a revealing that's coming. It's an achievement that we're going to do. As we enter in this 2025 year, as we begin to progress through, we've already entered in 2025. As we begin to progress through in 2025, we want these words to be part of our vocabulary. We want to speak these words of positivity in 2025. We want to keep pushing forward. So what does it take to build unstoppable momentum? I've got 4 steps for you this morning. Step number 1 is momentum starts with a push. How many of you feel a push in your spirit, man? How many feel the push in your atmosphere? How many of you feel something that you can't understand? It's an intensity on the inside of you, but you feel something pushing you to something greater. You feel something pushing you to something. You don't know exactly where it's pushing you is, but I need you to be with me on this morning when we talk about unstoppability or when we talk about unstoppable. We're talking about the momentum that we're taking. It starts with a push on the inside. I need you to know that every significant journey begins with a push. Often what happens is that a push comes from discomfort. A push can come from challenges. A push can come from divine prompting that goes on the inside. But it also starts with a push? How many of you got a push on the inside of you? Something is pushing you to see something more. Something is pushing you to see the manifestation. There's an air of excitement that's pushing you in 2025. We talked about 2024, about preparation. We talked about getting prepared. If you remember last year, I talked about plunging into position. I talked about preparing yourself by arising and beginning to speak what God told you to speak, beginning to speak what God told you that you were in 2024. Now we have entered into the season that there's a push that's going on. I prepared you for the push that's coming in 2025. So in 2025, I'm calling you to action. And what do I mean when I say I'm calling you to action? I want you to identify an area in your life this week coming back where you feel that you have been stuck. And then I want you to brainstorm some actions that you can take to move forward, because it's all about moving forward. It's all about doing the push. So I'm calling you to action to begin to brainstorm some actions that you can take to move forward. Why? Because we're not going to be stuck in 2024. So in order not to become stuck, we've got to have an action plan that we take. So begin to brainstorm some small actions that you can do in 2025 this week coming up, so we could get prepared to be pushed, to be thrown into the position that we need. Step number 2 is acceleration. When the flow begins, is in acceleration. Momentum becomes accelerate when intention and alignment comes into play. You got to have intention and you got to be in alignment. It all has to play together for acceleration to begin. So what do I mean? Aligning with a clear vision and purpose, it will accelerate your progression. What do I mean when I say that? You got to make sure that you know what your vision is. You got to make sure that you understand your purpose in order for you to accelerate to the next level, in order for you to progress. The Bible talks about writing a vision and making it plain so that those who read the vision that they have, that they can run with it, they can excel with it, they can be pushed into the vision that they have. Write your vision on this year. Make your vision plain unto you. Reread your vision daily for your point of focus. Why? Because in our vision is going to give us the motivation that we need to plunge forward. It's going to give us a little oomph on the inside to move into accelerate to progression into the next level that we want to do. Along with aligning, we've got to have some challenges that is going to come our way. Challenges can actually propel us forward. How many of you have ever had some challenges in your life and you thought the challenges was going to take you over, but instead it moved you into the next dimension. It moved you a step higher. I want you to know that the resistance that you're going to face, the challenges that's going to come your way, is going to be like the wind feeling a sail. It's going to push you forward. The wind is going to guide you into the place, into the momentum that you need in order to excel in 2025. What I want you to do also when we talk about acceleration, in this week coming up, I want you to get a growth map. And when I talk about a growth map, I'm talking about I want you to outline some places in 2025 that you want to accelerate. And when you start getting that growth map and you begin to write and outline some things or some areas or the places that you're going to accelerate in 2025, I want you to set some milestones. Milestones is going to determine your progression. I don't know if you want to look at it on a quarterly basis. I don't know if you want to look at it on a monthly basis, but I need you to get that growth map together and begin to outline where you want to excel in 2025, and then watch your progression. Watch how you're going to excel. Watch how things are going to happen quickly. And then while we're watching it, we got to also measure it. Measure it. So your milestones, set milestones that where you need to measure what it is that you have excelled. How have you excelled? So step 2 is acceleration. When we begin to look at step three is expansion. When we look at expansion, we're talking about growing into the momentum. Growing into the momentum. I need you to know that true momentum doesn't just move us forward, but it also helps us to grow outward, reaching new capacities and influencing other people. So not only are we're moving forward, but we're expanding outwardly. Expansion happens when we stay open. We've got to stay open to learning in 2025. We got to stay open to collaborations in 2025. And then we got to also stay open to the unexpected. Get ready for the unexpected that's going to come your way in 2025. Get ready for the wow moment that you're going to have in 2025. The wow moment that's going to take you to a place that is going to leave you breathless. It's going to leave you sitting back and just saying, wow. Those are the things that is unexpected in 2025. When we talked about we are being elected by God, when you're elected by God, you're on a journey, and your journey is not a destination, but your journey is what you continuously do. You continuously grow in God. You continuously expand in God. You continuously to receive the unexpected. In this year of expansion, I need you to get ready to do some learning in 2025. Learning comes in all facets. It doesn't necessarily mean that you got to grab a book. Learning can come in driving down a street that you've never drove down before, getting to a place, taking a new route to get to a place that you've never been before. Learning, engaging in conversation with someone that you've never spoken to before. Begin to learn other people that you gather with on a weekly basis. Hold conversation with them and learn them. Sometimes, and I think I was having a conversation with some of the sisters in church, like doing, I don't know what we were there. We were there together for something, and we were talking about sometimes we can be in church together with other people, and we really don't know the people that we fellowship with. We don't take time to expand our knowledge concerning the people that we fellowship. And how do we do that? By engaging them in conversation, by learning what they like. You might find out that you have some similar likes with other people, but you've got to go to learn somebody. It's a year of collaboration. Let's do things together. We are better together. Let's get collaboration going on with some sisters. Let's go someplace. Let's do something together. Let's plan something together. Why? Because we're expanding in what we're doing. Not only are we expanding as individual, but we're expanding, building the kingdom of God. It's important in 2025 to have that balance between acceleration, fast progression, and expansion, sustainable growth. You got to understand that things are going to happen quickly in 2025, but you got to be able to have that sustainable growth. You got to be able to know that wherever you grow at, you've got to sustain in the area. My fourth step and my last step is keys to sustaining unstoppable momentum. Keys to sustaining unstoppable momentum. It's the role of consistency. It's the role of faith. And it's the role of having a supportive tribe. I need you to understand that in 2025, some keys that you need is consistency. Whatever you do, you've got to be consistent in what you do. Last year, one of my words was consistency. And I've seen how in many ways God broadened my horizon, but every time he broadened my horizon, I had to stay consistent. I had to stay doing it, even when I felt as though that I did not want to do something. Even though when I felt as though that I wasn't equipped to do it, I had to stay consistent to whatever God granted me in 2024. The other thing I had to stay was faithful. Come what will or may, I had to stay faithful to the assignment. In 2025, one of the keys to sustain unstoppable momentum is you got to be faithful to what it is that God is calling you to do. The next thing, you got to have a supportive tribe. It is important to be around people who are growing. Is it important to hold conversation with people who are going somewhere? When we were growing up in our house, my father often told us that if you're holding conversation with people or talking about where they're going, how they're planning things, you are successful. He said, but when you begin to hold conversation with people who are talking about people, who are mumbling and complaining, who are whining, he says, you're not going anywhere because you become one of them. All you do is get stuck when you start talking about people. You're not broadening your horizon. But when you're talking about making plans to do something, when you're talking about excelling, you're broadening your horizon. You're doing some expansion that's going on. When we look at keys to sustain and unstoppability momentum, we're talking about the importance of celebrating small victories. You got to celebrate small victories along the way to keep your energy flowing. I don't know about you, but small victories could be for me. I love sweets and I'm trying to stop in 2025. I haven't been that successful in doing it. So what I've learned how to do, if I can get past one day and not eat cookies, not eat anything, I'm celebrating that that's a victory for me. Because anybody who knows me, I love candy. So if I can get by one day, I'm going to celebrate that day because that's a victory for me. And that's going to push me, give me the unstoppable momentum I need for my energy to consistently flow. Another thing we're going to face, that's a key, we're going to face some setbacks. But what I want us to do is when we get to those setbacks that we're going to face, that friction that's going to come our way in 2025, I want us to pause. And as we pause, we're going to prepare ourselves for the next leap that we're going to do. Sometimes we got to stop and we just got to march in place. And marching in place gives you that exercising that you need also. So we got to pause sometimes when we get to a setback. We've got to pause sometimes when we get to friction. And why do we pause? We got to pause to prepare ourselves, to get ourselves ready for the next leap, the next step that we're going to take. So on today, we talked about 4 steps that we took. The first step, number 1, that we talked about was momentum starts with a push. Step number 2 that we talked about was acceleration, ways when the flow begins. Step number 3 we talked about was expansion, growing into the momentum. And step number 4 was keys to sustain unstoppable momentum. That's what we need for this 2025. But I've got some action points, some takeaways that I need you to do in 2025. These takeaways is going to go along with my theme. And my theme for 2025 is unstoppable momentum with acceleration and expansion. So my takeaway from the day is that keep your vision cleared and aligned with your purpose. My next takeaway for you today is trust that acceleration and expansion often involves unexpected shifts. When you trust in the acceleration in an expansion, you're going to get unexpected shifts in your life. And my last takeaway for today is you got to focus on building inner resilience and adaptability. On this Tuesday transformation tidbit with Patrice, I want you to know that the path to unstoppable momentum is not about speed alone, but it's how deeply and how widely your life can expand from moving forward. In this year of 2025, we're going to be moving forward. We're going to keep our motion. We're not going to stop because of the friction, because of the setbacks that come our way. But every week we're going to keep pushing. I want you to think about what steps will you take this week to create an unstoppable momentum for you. What steps will you take this week to create that unstoppable momentum in your life? Start with just taking one step at a time. Take one step this week. Next week, take another step. And before you know it, you'll be in line with unstoppable momentum. Next week, we're going to be looking at the unstoppable momentum of how David defeated Goliath. There was some unstoppable momentum that he had when he went after Goliath. Next week, we're going to be dealing with that. But on this week, my takeaway from you is to realize that there's some steps that you're going to take. And I want you to take those steps this week. At least think about the steps you're going to take. That's going to create an unstoppable momentum from you in 2025. Thanks for listening to me on today. I want you to be amazing. And everyone on this line, don't forget, and to our 2025 book club that's on every Thursday at 7:30 by way of Zoom. I need to see each and every one of you in the house. We're talking about if not you, then who? If not you, that's doing the unstoppable momentum with acceleration and expansion in 2025, then who will it be? I want you to be amazing on today. Shalom.